Okay, so part of my grading process is I'm just going to skim through and make sure that you have citations in here so that I know you're quoting people and that you're citing your work. Okay. Very quickly as I go through, I saw Flanagan in parentheses, right? Is there a page number along with Flanagan? Okay, that's off a website, right? Okay. I see Flanagan again. Now I see it says J. Coakley. Was that off of Flanagan's article? Okay. It says complete. Okay, so this is the citation right there. Okay. Make sure you have a space in between. So I've got an introduction. I have first claim, second claim. Oh, there's some page numbers. This is the start of your counterclaim, I take it? Okay, so there's something funky going on with this, with one of your indentations. Seems like a very small. Here's probably what you're going to want. I'm just going to fix the guttering on it real quick because I think your tabs are. I don't know. I'm going to look through it here in just 1 minute. I'm making sure that I have. You see how your tabs are all funky? 1 inch. So it's this one that I need to fix. Looks like I'm going to have boom and boom. I'll just get it correct here. That way it matches everything else. Okay. So can parents go too far in supporting their children's dream? Many people have been debating on this topic for years. Many teenagers who play sports have undergone stress from parents yelling at refs, telling them to be stronger, and pressuring children. In this argument, you can only choose one side. Either parents can or can't go too far. I'm going to get rid of this comma, though, because you just have two parts. You don't have a list there. Okay, so it's either parents can or can't go too far. Many people believe parents, so we don't need that capitalized, parents can go too far in supporting dream by manipulating, pressuring them, causing long-term issues like unneeded stress, space, depression, social anxiety, and physical damage. Okay, so that's definitely your thesis. Correct? Okay. So it's clearly stated at the end of your introduction paragraph. I think you do a good job of very quickly grabbing attention, stating what you want. So your introduction's good. I like that so far. Okay. Parents can pressure their children into hurting themselves in sports and being under too much pressure. Parental pressure doesn't have to be overt or heavy-handed for it to have an effect on a high school athlete's mental health. Aware of how much their parents have sacrificed in time and money, some teenagers will persist in playing a sport too long past the time they enjoy it, even continuing to practice and compete while injured, says Jay Coakley, a sports psychologist at the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. If players do finally quit, they sometimes feel like failures for letting their parents and teammates down, which can contribute to self-destructive behavior. Parents don't have to pressure their children that much to cause an effect on them. They can feel like they are failing for not playing or quitting. Some teenagers even play when they have injuries to not be a failure. That's a good interpretation of what's stated here, Wilder. Very good. Parents bear some responsibility for the tension kids feel. So you've started your new quote here, right? Okay. Children suffer when mothers and fathers insinuate that every competition or game is vitally important and that the only path to athletic excellence is through relentless training, says Lisa Damore, a psychologist and the author of Under Pressure, Confronting Epidemic of Stress and Anxiety. And is this the end of a quotation here? Yeah. See how there's a quote mark here? Okay, so you have an additional quotation in here that we don't need, right? The situations where sports cause more stress this is okay. I see what you got here. So what we need is the end of quotes. So when you have quotations inside of a quotation, you'll want to use the small quotation mark for those quotes. Yeah, so in this case, you'll need big and then a small. It's putting them backwards for some reason. I don't know why it's doing that. So let's do this. Let's get rid of that. And then for some weird reason, there you go. Now they're facing the right way. Small, little there. Okay, and then this would be small quotation, and then a big and a small. Okay. When children play to win and impress their parents instead of just having fun, it causes a lot of stress. It can cause coaches, parents, and athletes to fight and cause stress on everyone. Okay. Make sure you're putting a space after commas. You tend, and then I'm big on the Oxford comma. There'll be one teacher that's not an Oxford comma fan, but
what's an Oxford comma?
Oxford comma is the comma at the end of a series before and. It's literally the name of that comma because it was invented at Oxford University. There you are. Facts you don't need to know, but there it is. Okay, but getting parents and coaches to chill out about high school sports. So all of your quotes match up. You explain them really well in your first claim. Outstanding. It flows well. Athletes try to win to get into a good college. They feel they need to be successful no matter what. Parents also want their... So far, do you guys follow Wilder's argument? Is it pretty clear cut?
Yeah.
So one claim, your second claim is parents can manipulate children to cause them social anxiety in school and in public. Can cause their children to have depression. So I would say this is a new thought and not a comma, just by the way it reads. Parents, and I think driving this home will be a stronger statement. Parents can cause their children to have depression to make, okay. I'm not sure where the quote starts and ends. Is it this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just not capitalized? Okay. Uh-oh. So no, I want that there, right? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what this thing's doing. There we go. Technology micromanage lives from far away might be thwarting the timely passage of adulthood. Even though parents may be far away, they still can micromanage their children's lives. This can only have an effect. Okay, so you may want to explain what effect this might have, right? If they're micromanaging. Do you understand what it means by micromanage?
Yeah.
So I would explain this one a little farther. Okay, explain in more detail, because I think all you did was repeat the quote there, and you've done a good job of not repeating the quote, but explaining the quote. And in here, you want to explain the quote. Okay, you just kind of repeated it this time, which you haven't done yet, which is good. You want to explain, not repeat. With the tremendous rise in cost of educational loans necessary for many young people, okay, children rely on their parents most often and set them back instead of taking responsibility. There you go. They have their parents pay or help with things. This makes them less likely to believe in themselves. Yes, now you've got it rolling. See how that one explains, and you're not just repeating it? Like you took it farther. You explained to the reader what it was you were doing. College students are in frequent contact with their parents nearly twice daily. Student children who talk freely with their parents are more likely to have lower autonomy, which means they are more controlled by people, especially their parents. I would explain the risk of not being autonomous. Does that make sense? So build that out even farther. Some may argue that parents can't go too far in supporting children's dreams by letting them do whatever they want. Abby Sunderland was a young woman who set sail. So this is your counterclaim, right? Okay. Wild eye, but unfortunately, huge waves pounded and destroyed the boat. Days later, she was found. They've even used a debate to criticize. I think you're headed in the right direction, though. So it sounds like what you're doing is that you're going to state that you I would so some may argue that parents can't go too far in supporting children's dreams by letting them do whatever they want. So I think this is what's cumbersome. This sentence is a little difficult to understand. Instead, I would simply say parents can go too far in supporting their children's dreams by letting them do whatever they want. Does that make sense? Because I think that's the opposite of, I think that's a clearer way of putting it. Parents can go too far. And then you go into Abby and show how maybe too much autonomy for them was dangerous. So I think you've got a good start on your counterclaim. You just have to finish it out. Okay, so you're starting to state examples of how going too far can be dangerous, right? Too much autonomy is also bad. If you take it and within your counterclaim wind up going to where it's a parent's role to help guide a child, especially from the research that we saw on parents' role in the path, parents' role in the path to adulthood. If you look at some of that information, it'll really tie it all together, because I think what you're doing really well is in your first two claims saying a child being stood over, a child being forced to do things is dangerous, but too much autonomy is also dangerous. So then tie it in with parents have a role in the path to adulthood. I think you've got a really good argument here. And then you're set up and ready for the conclusion. What is your conclusion going to be? Do you know yet?
Wouldn't it be like, what's that last sentence in
The thesis statement? Yes, you would go back to that thesis statement. And if you go back to the thesis statement of by re-echoing that manipulating, pressuring them, but also not letting them be autonomous is dangerous, I think you're onto something there. Okay, you just have to back it up with support. And again, I think you go into, you've got the right articles pulled for it. You just have to go and find more resources for it. Okay, so your conclusion, again, you're right. You want to restate the thesis statement in a different way, probably in a more positive light. Okay, and bring the reader with you of stating that thesis again and backing up your conclusion to show how a parent can guide them along the right path. Okay? Does that make sense on how a conclusion works?
Yeah.
Brandon nodded. Gracie, you're just into your paper, aren't you? Okay. It looks like a lot of you just have sparked ideas and you're ready to work. Should I let you go?
Yeah.
I will still look at yours, Gracie, yes.
Oh, okay.
Are you doing well? You just want to write for now?
I just didn't. Well, I have a question.
Okay, go.
In my introduction
Uh-huh.
paragraph, I cited evidence, but it goes along with one of my claims. Is it okay if I reuse that quote?
Absolutely, because you can even state, as I stated before,
Okay.
and then tie it back in. That's a really good technique in an argument because you're re-emphasizing how important that is to understand. Okay? All right. I'm going to leave you guys to work unless you need something specific. That's a really good question to reuse quotes. Well done, Gracie.